You ever notice how some leaders don't have to try too hard to earn respect? It just happens? It's not about loud speeches or perfect branding. It's something deeper. You see it in the way people react to them. The energy feels real, not forced, like they've actually lived the kind of life people can relate to. Think about it. A person who's been through real experiences, someone who's taught others, led teams, faced challenges head on, not just talking about leadership, but actually living it. That kind of background shows. It shapes how they think, how they decide, how they carry themselves. Even the small details feel different. Nothing looks staged. Nothing feels manufactured. It's natural. And people pick up on that instantly. And without anyone even pointing it out, a quiet comparison starts forming in your mind. Because on one side, you've got someone grounded, someone steady, and on the other side, you might see someone who relies more on image, on attention, on staying in the spotlight. And here's the thing. Real leadership doesn't need to be loud. It shows up in consistency, in actions, in the way someone handles pressure when things aren't going their way. Because that's where the real test begins. Not when everything is easy, but when things get uncomfortable, when decisions have to be made, when there's pressure, criticism, expectations. That's when you start to see the difference. Some people look for ways out. They shift blame. They point fingers. They try to control the narrative. But others? They stand there and take responsibility, even when it's tough, even when it costs them. And people notice that. Maybe not instantly, but over time it becomes clear. Because small moments add up. The little decisions, the reactions, the patterns, they start telling a bigger story. And that's when a simple question starts forming in people's minds. Who actually stands firm when it matters most? Because leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about owning them. And once people start thinking that way, they begin paying attention to something else too. How leaders communicate. Not just what they say, but how they say it. Because in big moments, words carry weight. The way someone speaks can either calm people down or create more noise. Clear, direct, focused. That kind of communication builds trust. It shows control. But when things feel dragged out, when the message keeps going without direction, people feel that too. It starts to feel less like leadership and more like trying to fill space. And whether we realize it or not, we all respond to that difference. Because strong communication isn't about saying more. It's about saying what matters, at the right time, and knowing when to stop. That's what keeps people listening. That's what makes words stick. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because at some point, words stop being enough, and people start looking for something real, something practical, something you can't fake. Skill. The ability to actually do things, not just talk about them. Because when someone understands how things work, when they can solve problems with their own hands, their own thinking, it says a lot. It shows patience, focus, experience. And naturally, it makes you wonder, can every leader operate like that? Or is everything just being passed off to someone else? That contrast becomes hard to ignore. Because now it's not just about personality anymore. It's about capability. And as that realization kicks in, the tone starts to shift. You begin to notice the difference in energy. One side feels calm, controlled, purpose-driven. The other? It can feel louder, more reactive, more focused on defending, explaining, repeating, almost like it's trying too hard to stay in control. And instead of clarity, it creates noise, and people feel that. Because deep down, everyone can tell the difference between confidence and chaos. Between someone who leads with intention and someone who reacts in the moment. And that's when everything comes together. All the comparisons, all the small details, all the patterns. They lead to one simple question. What actually makes a strong leader? Is it being the loudest person in the room? Or is it being the one who brings clarity when everything feels uncertain? Because in the end, leadership isn't about attention. It's about trust. It's about making decisions that matter, standing by them, and showing, through actions, not just words, that you're capable of leading when it truly counts.